going on? This is the Pinstripe Chronicles. This is Donald, and I got my man Uncle Tats. We will be breaking down the Yankees Red Sox game from yesterday. Let's just be very, very honest here and cut straight to the chase. This is an Aaron Boone culture issue. This is what it is. This is the Aaron Boone's culture. Until we fix the culture, games like this continues. Because let's be honest, this is exactly the same. Nothing's changed since 2018 in terms of when the Yankees play a big game, they play sloppy. The sloppy Yankees come out when they play a big game. World Series, sloppy, right? Incredibly sloppy. Every time we face the Red Sox, incredibly sloppy. This is what they do. And until they take responsibility for it, until they actually have a culture where it's like, we've got to play well, we've got to play tight, we've got to take advantage of these opportunities. Until they have that culture, then this will continue. But we've seen it. We've already seen this stuff. I mean, listen, just go back to last week where Brian Cashman was like, oh, you know what? The big market holds players accountable. So essentially we don't have to. That's kind of what he said. Right? And then you just fast forward to this past game, and that's exactly what it is. Once again, did you guys come across what Jazz Chisholm said in the post game? Jazz Chisholm was just like, oh yeah, I'm not concerned by the 4 errors. We've got a bunch of great Gold Glove fielders in the infield, and it's fine. I'm not worried. It's baseball. Shrug. And then it's just like, oh, it's baseball. That's the common Aaron Boone ray gun that he sends out to players. It's just like they've all got the same thing. Oh, it's baseball. It might be baseball, but you gotta be tougher than that. Frankly, the only person I ever want to hear from is Giancarlo Stanton. Because that dude keeps things real. That dude keeps things real. I mean, there was a bunch of things that you could look at. I really don't understand, for instance, why Aaron Boone stepped away from Jose Caballero after Caballero had the 2 home run game on fire. The Yankees haven't looked at him since. Explain that to me, especially with like Jazz Chisholm throwing the ball into like the 10th row yesterday, and then he was facing Matz, a lefty. Maybe that would have been an ideal spot for Caballero, make contact, get the runner in from third with less than 2 outs. But you could even have why is he not in instead of Volpe, who's on this awful run again, as he always will be. I don't understand why Caballero isn't playing like 3 or 4 times a week. Like at minimum, he should be playing 3 or 4 times a week. Like he's a guy that's versatile. He can play third. He can play short. He can play second. And he's someone that if you put the ball in play with his speed, like he causes chaos. And with his speed, he can run the bases like Sonic the Hedgehog. The guy is fast. He's someone that you should be using often. But the Yankees are just sort of like, I'll just treat him as like a bench player. Rosario will never see. I mean, I don't know why Rosario was acquired. Like, he has no role here. The Yankees don't use him. So I really don't understand some of those aspects. But it's Aaron Boone. It's Aaron Boone's culture. And you know, the analytics guys, they don't believe in hot. And they just think that if you're cold, then you should be playing every day. If you're hot, you should be sitting. It's this ass backward Yankees. And it just comes down to their culture. It's as simple as that. It's their culture. So when Jazz Chisholm threw the ball into the 10th row, was any of you guys surprised? No, I wasn't. You know, when Jazz Chisholm came up with a runner at third, on less than 2 outs with an opportunity, all he needs to do is hit a ground ball the other way and score, or a semi uh, hard sack fly, but instead he was aiming for the fucking fences and struck out. You know, are you surprised when? Were you surprised when McMahon struck out on a pitch about a foot over his head? No. Are you surprised? No, I'm not surprised. Why? Because this is the Yankee culture. This is their culture. Aaron Boone's totally cool with it. Brian Cashman loves it, and Hal Steinbrenner is, I don't know where he is. He's on a yacht drinking sangria somewhere in frickin' Italy. So I don't know where he is, but I know where he isn't, and that's New York, and that's where he should be because he's the owner. This is the Yankees, man. This is their culture, and we just have to. I guess we just have to accept it because they have no respect for their fans, and it is what it is. But we do love our fans, so thank you guys for our chat is absolutely jumping. We should be getting into that. But I got my man here, Uncle T. He is our leader. Uncle Tats, give me your thoughts on what you just witnessed.
No, the whole game last night was probably one of the sloppiest games, and that's been mimicked in the comments. It was an extremely sloppy game. 9 walks, 4 errors, but to me, the biggest issue of the night was the runners left on base. Yet you left 10 runners stranded. Against when your offense is that hot, and you're leaving that many runners on base. When you really break down to the brass tacks, I think that's what cost us the game. The errors did not help, obviously. Like Rice had the bad throw on the stolen base at third. Next inning, he comes up, home run. All right, you've atoned. Jazz has that terrible throw, and then he has really smart base running. To get to third base, so Goldschmidt can get him in. So there were moments in the game where they were making up for their mistakes with some type of production. But it was just not a collaborative effort from the team. That's the way I broke it down. I just think that the team was not playing the way they were together, like they had the 5 previous games that they had won. And I think the name that you brought up was actually a catalyst for those wins, and that was the use of Caballero. Who is absolutely it was like he wasn't even on the roster yesterday. And that is a big problem. Why aren't you, let Volpe get a couple days, let him sit a couple of days, put Caballero at short, and ride the hot bat. Especially, you could call it a wash with the base running, but I have more faith in Caballero on the bases than Volpe, to be honest with you.
Oh, he's a better base. He's easy to
trust. His base running IQ is bar none. I mean, you have one. He's leading all. I think he's leading all of baseball in stolen bases.
Exactly. Why are you not playing him every day?
Exactly. Why is he not playing? Like, why are you not utilizing your strengths in a game? You have to win this.
Yep.
This was a must-win game last night. You set the tone for the rest of the series.
Yep.
Coming off the win streak, record-breaking home runs with Tampa. 14 home runs, holy shit. And then you decide that you want to just put out kind of a soft lineup. It was a soft lineup. I don't think they should have been able to put up multiple runs. I think Hill actually pitched very well. He wasn't his best, but he's just coming back. What really showed me about Hill that he's really, his confidence is there. You go back to that bases loaded, nobody out.
That's
and
true.
Able to get out of that with only 1 run scoring. Like any other pitcher at any back end rotation guy. I mean, do we have confidence? Actually, is there anybody in the rotation we have confidence in that they're not letting that inning blow up? So hats off to Hill, because that game could have gotten away from the Yankees way earlier.
Oh yeah, are you kidding me? How
way
many
earlier?
They had 19 base runners, Boston.
if when you take a step back, the morning after, I'm putting all the blame mostly on. I'm putting the blame mostly on the offense. They had opportunities to tack on runs and add on runs and explode innings, and they failed. Failed
Well, no,
miserably.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, for me, the bullpen was the biggest issue. How many base runners did Boston have? Like 19?
They left 18 men on base.
That's absurd. In truth, in truth, in truth, the Red Sox should have won 12, 13-3.
Oh, I was, yeah.
The fact that the Yankees even were within one run going into the ninth inning was semi miraculous with the amount of times that the Red Sox had the bases loaded.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know what's scary? The Red Sox were not good last night. They did not play good baseball.
Oh, neither team played well.
Their approach at the plate with the runners in scoring position was miserable. And in any normal scenario, when a team leaves 18 base runners on base, basically a small village on the base paths, normally when that happens, they lose. Normally it comes back to bite you. But this is the Yankees. This is the Yankees. So it's sort of like, oh, we will give you infinite base runners. Eventually you'll drive them in. And that's what the Yankees did. They just gave them opportunity after opportunity, and then eventually the Red Sox were like, all right, we'll take it. And shout out to Anthony, that was a hell of a home run. But that's just what it is, man. That's the Yankees. This is who they are in big games. Now,
that's the biggest problem. Is they
what
don't.
I will say, I don't. I mean, obviously there are some things that you can take from the last 7 games in general. I would say that the Yankees are pretty tough because they've made a bunch of comebacks over the last week. You know, I mean, they could have lost a couple of those games that they swept. And a lot of it was thanks to Big G, who, again, I say it, I can say it till I'm blue in the face. I think he's the true captain of this team. Big G comes in and saves the Yankees on multiple occasions during our winning streak. The Yankees are a tough team. They come back. They've come back. They've shown their ability to come back. So that's a good sign. You know, Ben Rice has been remarkable. Obviously, he's not the perfect fielder, but offensively, he's an absolute machine. Where Ben Rice is a machine. So that's something that we can build off of. You know, you got your Judge there, who's at least a candidate to win AL MVP. So the lineup is coming together. And you got Bellinger, who's having a great year. And he's someone whose approach I really do appreciate in runners in scoring position because he's not trying to do a Jazz Chisholm and Anthony Volpe where he's aiming for the stands. He will shorten up his swing with two strikes. He has the approach that most Yankees need to have, where he changes his approach depending on the count. That's an old school approach, and that's a spot-on approach, and that's why he's having such a successful year. So you got Bellinger. So offensively, I'm not worried. Offensively, I am not worried. The Yankees have had a very good run the last week offensively. That's not my worry. My worry, and it's going to be a worry that's going to last the rest of the season, and it's not going to change. It's the culture, and it's the bullpen, and it's their mentality on fielding the position down the stretch in big games. From the 7th inning onwards, they get brain farts. They just play dumb. They play stupid. They make ridiculous mistakes, and the bullpen can't throw strikes apart from Bednar. That is a problem, and that is why I'm not convinced when the Yankees play a decent team. The Cardinals, not a good team, took advantage of them. The Rays, not a good team, barely took advantage of them. we had to really fight. Even though we hit like a million home runs, we had to we had to sweat a little bit because the Yankees are still the Yankees. And they make a lot of dumb choices, and it always comes back to bite them in the big games. It's just who they are. It's their culture.
Well, it's like I was texting with Spencer, throughout the Tampa series, in the second game, and he's like, he was feeling really optimistic. The both of us, I'm like, and I said to him, I'm like, yeah, it's exciting. It says this Red Sox series is going to really determine where we are this season. Are the Yankees back or are they not? Now, there's still 3 games left of this series to make a statement. But as I said, I thought last night was the game to make that statement. They had the runners up. They had the Red Sox offense that has been struggling to put runners up, continuing to leave an army on base, and the Yankees left their own army. Like, this should have been a blowout game. This should have been an offensive explosion on both ends. Which is why I'm hesitant to put all the blame on the pitching and defense. They definitely are accountable to their mistakes and their struggles, absolutely. But the offense really should have. This should have been a slugfest. And when you get into those slugfests, it's whoever hits, usually the last one that scores wins the game. Well, that's kind of a stupid statement, but the upper hand in a slugfest should go to the home team because of the bottom of the ninth with last licks to get some extra runs up or in the eighth pad a lead, and hand it to your top end bullpen guys. That was just not the way that the plan. That it did not play out that way for the Yankees. But the way I looked at it last night, it didn't seem like the Yankees outplayed themselves. They didn't really outplay the Red Sox.
No, they beat themselves.
Yeah,
for sure. Spencer, I could not believe they could not get Ben Rice from third with 1 out. Well, dude, come on. This is the Yankees. I could believe it. This is who they are.
Runners in scoring position has been a problem all season.
Look at Jazz Chisholm's approach. It's always 100%. He's always trying to swing through his shoes. That is his approach. It's not good with runners in scoring position in less than 2 outs. That's not a good approach, but he continues to have that approach regardless. And then after the game, where he's just shrugging, going, "That's baseball." That's the kind of culture that I'm talking about. I'm not saying it just because I enjoy saying it. There's a reason why I'm saying it. This is a culture that has to be fixed. So I really don't understand why you guys got excited for this series. This is not going to change anything.
Well, we always get hyped up for Boston.
I know, but at the end of the day, the Yankees don't get hyped up for Boston. The last time we faced the Boston was a split. So why should the fans get excited? The Yankees don't get hyped up for any of these games. And until the Yankees start getting hyped up for these games and start taking them seriously, taking them as seriously as the fans do, then we will continue to have games like this. But the problem is the Yankees' approach is the same whether it's April or whether it's August. It's baseball. We'll get them tomorrow. That's baseball. We'll get them tomorrow. It's the same story. Now, Brian Cashman loves that because he thinks that keeps a very level-headed, calm, cool, and collected approach. But it's too calm, cool, and collected. There does need to be fire. That's why the Dynasty Yankees don't want to watch this team. And I have a hard time watching this team because it's the same shit. They don't get up for big games. And until you start getting up for big games, then this team is fool's gold. They are the classic team where they will destroy mediocre teams. The Yankees are built with it. They've got a lineup that, when they're cooking, is brilliant. So they will destroy mediocre teams. But it's when they face decent teams, the Yankees collapse. They collapse. And it's okay because Aaron Boone nourishes it, nurtures it. You know what I'm saying? And Sunil had the point here. I mean, earlier, not this point, but earlier when he said that you can't win if you have more errors than runs. So that's why I can't really blame the offense. If you have 4 errors, you're not going to win any games, and you don't deserve to win any games. The Yankees deserved nothing last night. They deserved absolutely nothing. And you
Can
know
I
what's
nitpick for? I just want to nitpick for a second. I
of
thought
course,
the error put on Heel when it went the ball that went off his glove.
yeah.
I thought that was a bullshit error. It's an error in the scorebook, nonetheless. But I thought that was a tough error to put on him. That's my quick thought.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's just but the Yankees played very sloppy, man. You could have unlimited errors with this team. They're a very sloppy team. So I mean, you can look at semantics going on. Maybe that one is a little harsh. This is who the Yankees are, and Stevie B's right. It's insanity. Different chapters, same results. It's nothing's changed since 2018. The Yankees face the Red Sox, they collapse. Yankees face a good team, they collapse. Nothing's changed since 2018. So you know what my point was going to be that I watched that game completely nonplussed, completely unsurprised. Everything that happened when Jazz Chisholm threw the ball into the 10th row, I I didn't change my reaction. It was just like, yeah, this is pretty standard. This is who we are. You know, when Jazz Chisholm struck out with Ben Rice standing at third base with that dramatic triple, and Jazz Chisholm came up, I knew you striking out. You struck out. I didn't change my reaction. So the fact that I can almost like predict what's going to happen, or almost just know what the Yankees are going to do, that's the most frightening aspect. Because if a fan can kind of figure out what they're going to do, then I'm pretty guaranteed that teams that actually scout the opposition, um, and actually like know how to run a baseball organization, they're going to be like, I know what the Yankees are going to do. They're going to put the ball in play and they're going to screw it up. So that's the Yankee culture. It is. And Stevie B refused to watch the game. I mean, could you imagine Stevie B telling our younger selves that we would be watching a Yankee or watching or not watching a Yankee Red Sox game and not getting excited about it? That's almost unheard of. I used to live, breathe, and die every single pitch of a Yankee Red Sox game, rain or shine, and my week would be affected, let alone day. Now I'm just sort of like, oh, well, the Yankees are going to do something to screw it up. It sounds miserable, but I'm sorry. You can't keep doing this to me from 2018 to 2025 and for me to still be as locked in. It's because it's the same thing. I'd have to be insane to be surprised at this point because it's nothing has changed since 2018. If you look at it, zero has changed. Zero has improved. Nothing has improved. Nothing will change until something changes. We need a new voice. Whether it's all Aaron Boone's fault or not, doesn't matter. We need a new voice. It's as simple as that.
One thing that we do like to do is give a voice to the people that hang out with us every morning while we're on live. So let's give a quick shout out to everybody hanging out with us in the chat. We just saw jumping in. We got Damian Serrano hanging out with us, Stephen B, Sunil, FJ. We got Mr. Barrows. Good morning, Mr. Barrows. We got Evan, Healing Men's Hearts. We got Spencer hanging out with us, Lou. We also have, where was he? We got TC Steele's hanging out with us. Jared, what's going on, Jared? You got Jason Custodio. There's a lot of phenomenal comments in here. We're gonna start going through some of them and give you guys opinions out. Raziel, what's going on, Raziel? And where was it earlier? We were doing our shows open. Just want to thank Devin for the 9 months of membership. What's up, you, Dev? What's up to you? That was everybody. And Jonathan, what's going on, Jonathan? Bright and early, 7:12 a.m. So he's back to his regular schedule. 3 hours before the show. But let's let me pull up a comment here. We'll break it down. We'll start it off with some of the new voice to the chat. It goes fool's gold with Tampa Bay and Seattle. It's almost as if it would have been better if we had lost those series back to reality. Donald, what do you think of that?
I hold the belief that you're never as good as you are when you're winning and as bad as you look when you're losing. It's always a little bit in between.
The old sports adage. All right.
It is. It's the old sports adage, but it's the truth. So I'm sorry I was not plus during the 7-game run where we won most of the games. I was like, cool, that's great. But I need to see how we do against the Red Sox. You know what I'm saying? Because the Yankees are supposed to beat up on these mediocre teams. It's really, as I've been saying over the last half hour, it's really about what we do in the big games. The Yankees need to get themselves up for the big games. They don't get themselves up for the big games. Thus, this continues to happen. That's why they do need a new philosophy. They need a new approach where they do get themselves up for big games, where they do play hard and tough and fight every single pitch and every single out in the big games. That's where you make your money. That's where you make your hay as a Yankee. Until they start approaching these games against the Red Sox the way that they, I hate to say it, the dynasty used to, then this will continue. The Yankees need to start being the Yankees again. So, yeah, I can see his point. I didn't get too up or down because I know this Yankee team's good. It's not that I'm saying this Yankee team's bad. This team's very good. Look at this roster. You have a bunch of guys that can hit the fucking cover off the ball. Bunch of guys with like over 120 weighted runs created plus. They're good. This is a good team. But they play down to the opposition at times and they don't get up for big games. So that's why I had kind of like only medium expectations going into this series. So I can't get too up or down. I'd be shocked, Jason, if we win the next 3. It's possible, but I'd be shocked. Let's see what else we got in the chat. Who else we got? Regil the Great, my man. The 9 walks is what killed us. Then we add 4 errors. Of course we do. Exactly.
Well,
Age. When they play a good team, they play bad. Simple as that. Yep. Straight to the point. Yep, Brazil, they crumble when they face a real team. That's it. That's my point.
That was the comment I was looking for.
Yeah, let's put a star there. That's what they are. This is who they are, guys.
No, and that's why, yes, you can say, what's going on, Miguel? Missed you in the roll call. My apologies. That's all on me. But good to see you hanging out with us. No,
that's Mr. Barros. Good to see him in the chat. Look at Jazz throw from second to first. It almost looked intentional. This shit is horrible. Oh, my man. Good to see you in the chat. But you're right. It is horrible.
Yeah. Those are the plays. You can understand that overthrowing from third or short. You can't have a throw like that from freaking second base. Like that was really – that was probably one of the worst errors of the season. I think that could be right up there at the top. Mm-hmm. We were ranking the errors and the devastation of it. That's up there in the top 3.
Yeah. Sunil saying Cole was wagging her finger at Boone Cashman and Hal just as he was at Caballero, as if to let them know Jazz shouldn't be starting at second base anymore, but Caballero should. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know about benching Jazz. Like his defense.
Well, let's open it up to the chat. Okay, Uncle Tats, right? What are your belief? What is your belief here? Because this Jazz situation is very weird. On paper, he's actually been very, very productive. And every game he has moments where it's like, wow, he is a good player. But then a lot of the time he does something that's nigh on disgraceful. And it's very hard to get completely all in. So where are you with Jazz right now, Uncle Tats?
Look, we've there's been this narrative in with the Yankees that they have no personality. It's all suit and tie. They need to bring a little life into it, a little personality, and Jazz is that guy. I think Jazz's biggest flaw is not being able to read the room. I think sometimes, especially some of his comments or his antics in game, um, are very poorly timed. But his productivity is there. He is really good with the glove. He's good on the bases. I think he has a solid approach at the plate. So productivity, I don't think there's much to you can nitpick, but I think his biggest flaw is kind of running his mouth. That's where you kind of like, ooh, I don't know about this guy. But the productivity, I think, should overshadow some of the things he says to the media or some of his, hand gestures in games.
Um, I'm just not sure if Jazz is the kind of guy that you want to win a champion that you can win a championship with, because unless they have a manager that manages him tougher, I want to see what he'd be like with like an old school manager that's like, I mean, I'm not asking for like a Billy Martin, but someone that's kind of like quietly holds you to a higher standard and certainly doesn't put up with the kind of antics that Aaron Boone loves to put up with. That I think he is a head case. I have to agree with Mr. Barros. Healing men's hearts is becoming a cancer. I think that I don't know if it's him that's a cancer. I think it's Aaron Boone's general kind of culture.
It's Aaron Boone's culture.
It's his culture which is the cancer, but Jazz Chisholm very much parades it around. I mean, Uncle Tats, remember that time that you were very annoyed when Jazz got himself thrown out? When the issue was completely over with, it was done. Go back to the dugout. He couldn't do it. He had to just keep going and going and going to get himself thrown out to hurt the team. That's the kind of stuff. Yeah, that drove you insane. You were pissed at that.
But that's what it is. It's his mouth that kind of pisses me off. Yeah. He's got the same energy as a Nick Swisher with less leadership.
Yeah.
Nick Swisher had that flamboyance, that fun personality, the trash talk we like to see. But it was controlled under his manager.
Mm-hmm.
Boone doesn't have any control of what Jazz says.
Exactly.
It's almost like it's encouraged for them to be themselves. Well, sometimes you don't have to be yourself. You have to be a part. You have to be a member of the organization and understand that there's a line that shouldn't be crossed. And Jazz, when he opens his mouth, he crosses the line more times than not. That's why it pissed me off when he got ejected. Look, you got ejected. Just go to you want to balk from the dugout? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm like, just the way he kept carrying on.
You know what Jazz is like?
It was a freaking nightmare.
Do you know what Jazz is like? Jazz is like a kid with ADHD that is just allowed to do whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or he's like an untrained cocker spaniel. It's just constant energy, constant excitement, constant. But until you actually manage the situation and get a hold of it, then it's going to be out of control. And that's who Jazz Chisholm is, because Aaron Boone just allows all this shit. He's just sort of like, that's fine. This is Jazz's personality. Yeah, but you gotta keep a hold of it for the betterment of the rest of your locker room. But Jazz is he's all energy, he's all excitement, and it's cool. I mean, it's okay to an extent, but it's a little bit too much. You need to get a hold of it. He needs a manager that can get a hold of it. And if he can't handle management, then get him out of here. It's as simple as that. But the way that Aaron Boone manages it doesn't work. I know they're best pals or whatever. There might be buddies, but at the end of the day, it ain't working. Like, Jazz is productive to an extent, but almost he gives it back with his stupidity. Like he was okay yesterday. He was actually pretty good. But the stupid strikeout and the awful throw into the stands almost like takes away. It's like 2 steps forward, but a step back with Jazz. So you're not really that much better off. Like,
No,
I don't know.
like I said,
I don't
his
know
energy levels are fine. It's his mouth that's the problem.
Yeah, I think he needs management. I think he needs managed. I think he should be a project. But I think that Jazz is the only reason why Jazz is not a superstar. Because talent wise, he's got it all. He's got the speed, he's got the glove, he's got the bat, he's got the attitude, he's got all that stuff. He's got the athleticism. But Jazz is the reason why Jazz is not a star and probably will never will be. And the reason is because of him. It's not he's like not locked into games. He gets himself thrown out a base on the base paths or just by screaming at umpires for no reason. It's his antics is the only reason why he's not a star, and they need to get a hold of it because it's almost a distraction at this point. Donnie said he fits the pinstripes and he needs this energy outburst. The Yankees need this energy outburst to an extent, but it's almost a little bit too much now.
It's the I don't want to keep repeating myself, Donnie. What's going on? Glad you're hanging out with us. Also, Will Starr, welcome to the chat. Good morning. Long time no see. No, that's why I'm saying it's not his energy level. It's his mouth. If he would just, put a muzzle on himself sometimes, I think, he would be looked at in a lot more of a better light. That's all I'm saying. I like Jazz. If they decide that they want to, if they want him back next year, I'm not going to argue it. But I would put the stipulations in there. But you got to keep your mouth shut. If you're talking in a press conference, that's fine. Like if he would have just come out yesterday in the post game and said, exactly. But if he was to come out in the press yesterday, I mean, look, you don't want to put 4 errors on the board. He's like, he goes, but I'll speak for myself. What my throw is unacceptable. I got to stay focused.
Right. If he said that would be great.
That was it.
But he never did.
No.
And remember when he got himself thrown out against the Marlins and he was just like, I would do it again? When he was standing between first and second and he got thrown out in the base path and he was asked, if you had to do he was offered a layup of a question. If you know now what you did then, would you have still done that? And he was like, yeah, I'd do it again. I mean, that's the kind of unaccountability is the reason why he will not take a step forward into being a star. Jazz is the only reason why Jazz is not a superstar. He's got the raw talent, but he's holding himself back. But the Yankees aren't helping him because they're just nurturing his out of control side because they think that because this is the modern generation and all players are right, they are allowing the players to hurt this locker room. I don't think Jazz's attitude is helping our team on the field. It's a little bit just too wild. It needs calm down. He needs a manager. I want to see Jazz Chisholm with a manager. Just a decent manager that's kind of tough. And I want to see what Jazz Chisholm's like. I have a feeling that Jazz Chisholm would be so much better. And I think that you would see a better version of him and a much better version of the Yankees with a different manager, a tougher one. I'd like to see that. Boone is a player's coach, Donald. That's why. Well, tell that to Aaron Judge because Aaron Judge didn't agree with what Aaron Boone had to say in the media. So I don't know if Aaron Boone is nearly as good as everyone says he is in terms of communication. Yeah, well, that's why, Tony. Yeah, who wants to be buddy buddy? That's why.
Look,
Absolutely.
you can't always be friends with with the people that you're responsible for elevating. Sometimes you have to you can be tough on like I'm a supervisor at work. I can go out for drinks with the guys I work with, but they know when the clock is when we're on the
Right.
clock, they know who's in charge. And
Right.
if I ask them to do something, they're going to get it done. Which is why I could be friends with them because they understand the line that can't be crossed. There's no lines now. Everybody's crossing. Everybody's overstepping everything, and that's why credit to Donald before we came on. He came up with this phrase that I actually put a note in my phone. It's the Aaron Boone culture that's bringing this organization down. And to be honest, even with further honesty, Cashman created it.
Yes.
Well, look, it was a tough loss last night. There was a lot of things that went wrong, some things that did go right. I thought that the pitching should have been a little more buttoned up, but that is a tough lineup to navigate. So we'll spend a little more time with the comments and really give you guys a little venting session as we vent along with ourselves. But bring up this. Yeah, I try to be as honest as I can. But so if we had a real manager, an old school type with accountability, this game would be up 10 games.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
I think it's more if we had a real manager. I don't think it's so much an old school because I think those days are gone. The managers don't have that type of control anymore. But if a manager that actually has a pulse for his roster and the pulse for the game, I think some results may vary.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because if you look at, I mean, the Yankees' offense, like statistically, are one of the best in baseball, if not the best, and they're a juggernaut, but yet they're struggling to win games. Why is that? There has to be something behind that, and it's Aaron Boone's culture, and the players are just too like, it's all right, it's baseball. It's fine, but tomorrow. There's just too much of that, and I keep saying it, but there's very few people in that locker room that don't subscribe to that philosophy. One of them is Giancarlo Stanton, and it's not a surprise considering Stanton is by far our best clutch hitter.
Yeah,
He has the same approach, and he's just an absolute animal. He is an animal. We don't have that type of player. Everybody else in this locker room, including the captain, is just like, it's fine, we'll go and get him tomorrow. And that is why this Yankee team doesn't get himself up for big games. But we have one player that gets himself up for big games, and that's Big John Carlos Stanton. So for those that will be like, oh, he should DFA him. This guy's over. Yeah,
right. Trade stock.
Right, he's trade stock. Just cut him. Yeah, I mean, guys, the best form, arguably, of his career right now, pinch hit or otherwise, he is mashing. So, Boone said that Judgy hates when people are on their phones. That's good. That's a good thing. I want to see more of Aaron Judge giving a shit. I want to see that. I would love to see that. I want to see if Judge is tough behind the scenes. I want to see it like on screen. I want to see it.
You can't always put your arm around somebody and talk to them softly. Hey, that was kind of messed up what you did. Sometimes you got to get in their face. I'm sorry. Well, you don't think I've ever been screamed at by a boss, and an hour later we're all laughing, and at work because you said what you had to say. You put your foot down. Let's finish what we're here to accomplish, and then we'll laugh about it later. Could you believe I made that mistake? And laugh about it. Like, it just doesn't make the way that they try to put everybody in these protective bubbles is, to me, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, Boone made a comment in one of the post game shows how when Big G speaks, everybody just shuts up and listens. You know, Big G has that leadership, you know, that we shouldn't have on the team. Maybe that's why somebody wants him gone.
Yeah.
Because he's going to hold people accountable.
Right.
You know,
Can't have
maybe
that
one Twitter account's a sleeper agent for Cashman.
Yeah, you can't have that. You can't have people being held accountable. That can't happen. Duran, that throw by Jazz for FC, even Knobloch with his heebie-jeebies didn't throw that. That's true. That's true. It reminded me when Chuck Knobloch got the yips and couldn't throw from second base to first, and every throw was going to was injuring people in the stands. Like, it was wild. And then they had to move Chuck Knobloch to left field just so that he wouldn't injure people in the front row. That throw was very similar. It was like yips bad. Yeah, you're right. I'll never forget, guys. Chuck Knobloch at second base literally had the yips, and he couldn't hear the yips, so they had to move him to left field just so that he wouldn't injure people in the stands with his throws to first base. That's what Chuck Knobloch was doing.
Yep.
So
those were the days.
Those were the days. Just to think that was our biggest issue back then. Now we've got so many issues that that doesn't even account for anything anymore. Yeah, that's true. Because Jazz has an arm. He has a really good arm. And he just lost control. Because the Yankees lose control. Because they have a culture where it's okay. Luke is right. They got rid of accountability when they fired Girardi in 2017. Not saying it's perfect, but the Yankees set a terrible... Yeah. Say it louder for the people in the back. Say it louder for Brian Cashman to hear. Because that is the truth. That is the truth. I said very similar on my show on Saturday. It was just like, all I'm asking for is kind of similar to what the Yankees had running in 2017, where they had a manager that was prepared, and they had a coaching staff which was prepared, and they knew how to develop people, and they were very good coaches, so they developed young players. So you saw the best of Gary Sanchez. You helped to develop an Aaron Judge. You developed these young guys. And yeah, there was accountability. Rob Thompson made sure that the Yankee players held the Yankee standard. And he ran spring training. He was a no-nonsense dude. He was a very good manager, very good assistant, and just did his thing. He was someone that you want to keep a hold of in the organization. The Yankees let him go because they got rid of all these guys, and what came in was this laissez-faire attitude, and nothing has improved since then. No one's gotten better. They haven't developed anyone since Aaron Judge. So that's why things have changed. The Yankees haven't been close to as good as they were when Joe Girardi was manager. And I agree, Joe Girardi was not perfect. And I had my issues with Girardi, but I'll tell you what, he was prepared. You listen to him in the booth compared to what Aaron Boone is doing on the field, and it's frightening. It's frightening how you've gone from someone who's so prepared and with someone that in the booth, he anticipates things that are happening before they've happened, and then they happen. And then you got Aaron Boone who's just standing there like a dodo, blowing bubbles, and then watching the whole thing implode, and he's just like, "Oh, I'll be fine. I'll go and get him tomorrow." And that's the difference. You got Joe Girardi, who is prepared. He knows things. He's like, that's a wheel play. The Yankees should not be bunting down the third base line. Don't do it. And then they bunt down the third base line, and then it goes wrong. You know, and that kind of stuff. Like he calls things before it happens. Aaron Boone's just sort of like, I wonder how big I can blow this bubble. I want to see how big I can do it. Can I get it 3 feet? That's Aaron Boone. So we've gone from Joe Girardi, tough. I want to win a championship. I'm a fan. This is unacceptable. Let's win. To Aaron Boone going, how big can I blow this pink bubble?
And it's like,
That's
we speak. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about Joe Torre's managing style, but or the productivity he got from his team. Obviously, we all long for the days of the dynasty,
yeah.
but he didn't have to yell. He was that old, he was that tight where, like my grandfather, he just had to look at you and you knew you were in trouble. Yeah. So it's not always about how loud you can yell or get in somebody's face. It's your mannerisms, it's your tone, your body language. Tori had the perfect manager's body language. He would
Absolutely.
sit there like if you stone face sitting in the dugout,
Yep.
whisper something to Zimmer,
Yep.
you know, and everybody in the dugout would be like, "Oh shit, he's pissed." Now it's, "Hey, how's it going? All right, good. Well, at least you got one good swing on that at bat. We'll get him next time." You
Yep.
know, it's like it doesn't work that way. That's not how you elevate your team. Sometimes you just gotta, you know, be a little more stern. Boone,
You
I
don't
just
need
don't.
to. You
Boone
don't
does
need
not
to
have
throw
that
a gas.
ability. Who is the next guy that's going to do it? Because you hear all the time, well, if you don't have Boone, who are you going to bring in? And really anybody. See
You
what
don't.
Oscars could do.
You're right, man. You don't need to throw a gasket. You don't need to blow a gasket and and still be able to hold people accountable. You know what I'm saying? You can actually be like what Joe Torre was, quiet but stern, and you knew what the standards were. Um, Remember that perfect example that Jeter kept mentioning, where he made one error like in his rookie year or something like that. He made a dumb play, and then he saw Joe Torre's face in the dugout, and he's like, "Oh shit," he's pissed. And then he sat beside Joe Torre and kind of gave him a hug and kind of rubbed thumbs on his bald head, and then Joe Torre's like, "All right, get out of here." You know what I'm saying? Is that? But it was sort of like, I know I screwed up, and I ain't gonna do it again. You know what I mean? That kind of attitude is a good thing because no one's perfect. There will be errors. People will make dumb mistakes. It happens. It happened in the dynasty.
Yeah,
Trust me, it happens.
that's
It
baseball,
happens
sir.
every day. But if you sit down and you know that you've done that and you never do it again, then you will get better. And that's what the Yankees. That's how the Yankees were better. And then see with Joe Torre as a manager, he didn't need to lose his mind because he had tough players that could police themselves in the locker room. Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez, Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter. Then you had Roger Clemens. You had fucking David Cohn. You had dudes that were experienced, and then you had kind of like Tim Raines and Darryl Strawberry. You had all these kind of guys that have been there, done that, and they could police the locker room. But in this current generation, the inmates are running the asylum. That's the problem. The inmates are running the asylum because Aaron Boone is sort of like, you guys do what you want. I'm your buddy. Let's go out for cocktails after our ice cream. And that's the difference. And they don't police themselves. And it's madness. And you got Jazz Chisholm out of control. So that's the difference. They do need to get a handle on this locker room. You don't need to blow a gasket. You don't need to like beat people up. You don't need any of that shit. But you do need to have an element where there has to be some kind of standards and a leadership, a very strong leadership.
Mhm.
And it starts with the owner, GM, manager, captain, downwards. You need to have a leadership structure that you know that there are standards that need to be upheld. And that doesn't exist right now. And that's why the Yankees don't get themselves up for big games.
No, what does exist is the opportunity to bring up one more thing before we head out. And you know me, I always like to end the week on a high note.
Okay.
Donald, we got to talk about Cam Schlittler
Okay.
and his outing with Tampa. I mean, perfect game going into the seventh inning. The first batter got a hit, but how good does he look in that rotation? I think he's just what we needed.
I love Cam Slither, and that's why I was I basically made it clear on this show that I wanted him to be untouchable. I
Yeah,
think I felt he was untouchable.
I
Uh,
thought he. I actually thought he was getting. I said I thought he was getting traded.
I'm glad that he wasn't. There's a couple of guys in this organization that I believe should be untouchable. Um, Schlittler's one, Ben Rice is another, and Spencer Jones. Uh, and then of course Lombard. Those are for me. Those are the four guys that are like basically untouchable as far as I'm concerned. Cam Schlittler's one of them. The reason is because he throws 100 miles an hour. That is an arm.
He's got that
At
high
the start,
velocity you need.
he can consistently generate 99 to 100 miles an hour, and all he needs is to work on a couple of off-speed pitches, and the guy's going to be unhittable. He was basically unhittable the last start. He's really, really good. I like Cam Schlittler a lot. I think he has a higher ceiling than Clark Schmidt. He's got a miles better ceiling than Will Warren. It's because of that elite arm. Like, if you can harvest a guy that throws 99 to 100 miles an hour as a starter, but then you can mix in a couple of really good off speed in there, he's going to be nigh on unhittable. I really like Schlittler, and I love his confidence on the mound. So, um, as I say, there are some things to be positive about. So, even though we spent 55 minutes very pissed off at the culture, and it's, a lot of this is Aaron Boone, there are some things to be excited about moving forward. So yeah, let's end this podcast on a positive, right? My positives right now is that Big G is phenomenal. He is a monster. He is an animal. The fact that he came in after the Yankees blew the game and he came in a pinch hit spot and saved the situation with a 2-run blast into outer space. That's the kind of man he is. He's an animal. He's an absolute monster. And he's on another podcast. I would love to break down why I think he's probably the most underappreciated Yankee in modern history.
I asked that question a couple weeks ago.
Yes, we did, and it's even more to the point now.
Yeah,
because not enough people are talking about the fact that Big G saves the Yankees on multiple occasions. He saves them more than anybody else on this roster. He saves situations. He did it all in the playoffs last year. So he's a monster. So that's a positive. Cam Schlittler,
positive.
he's a massive positive.
I think it's fair to say this is probably one of G's best stretches he's had in the uniform.
In his career, like he's been red hot. What he's doing over the last 36 to 40 games is unprecedented, considering he's like 35, 36. I mean, that is, and he's this red hot. He's destroying the baseball every single at bat. His approach is great. He's batting over 300, which is unlike him. The hole in his swing where he used to get done by sliders low and away doesn't exist anymore. He's just mashing everything. So he's been great. Gus Schlittler has been great. Ben Rice. I love Ben Rice. Now, I don't know where you play him because I'm not sold with him at first. And at catcher, I don't love his arm when throwing people out because it's wild. But, God, he's a great hitter. He's a fucking amazing hitter. And he's another one that is great, got great attitude, great kid. He's great. I love Ben Rice. I think he is our catcher. And then Brian Cashman pulled off a steal of a trade, not just for Bednar, which we've now got ourselves a closer, but Caballero. We've got multiple years of control for this guy, and he is an animal. But you got to get him on the field, and that's up to Aaron Boone to do so, which he can't do because he's an idiot. But there are things to be excited about. There is a team here. And then you got Cody Bellinger is having one of his best years of his career outside of his MVP year. There are things to be positive about. It's not all doom and gloom, but we know what the issues are, and it's above the players. It's the culture. Fix the culture, fix this team, and this team can win a championship. But until they fix this culture, they can't, and they won't.
Yeah, it's a tale of two teams. Because when they're playing like they did with St. Louis and Tampa, to what we've been saying, probably since we all met and started doing this podcast, when they are on, they're unbeatable.
Yep.
When they're off, they look like they're on. They look like a bunch of rookies. Like it's that drastic. There's no gutting it out.
Yep.
So and they should be in so much better of a position than they are if it wasn't for all the fuck ups and all the mistakes and just the sloppy play. And it always is going to go back to, well, who's in charge of this group? Aaron Bone.
Nobody. I'd argue that nobody's in charge of this.
Well, nobody. Well, he's the voice of the room, and he's not much of a voice.
No, he's not a voice at all. But
look, there's still 3 more games of this series. It could, you never know what the outcome could be.
Prediction.
After
what's going to happen for the next 3 games, Uncle Tats? What's your prediction?
You know what? I think at this point, anything short of a split is going to bring the wrath. We have to at least stay even keel. We can't lose 3 or 4. We can't lose all 4. We can't lose another 4-game series to this team. Because otherwise, there's no point. There's no point in a playoff run because we're too exposed.
I think the Yankees lose 3 out of 4. I don't want to be. I hate to be negative.
I can't even argue with you.
But the truth is, the Red Sox played like shit yesterday and won 6-3, and they probably should have won 12-13-3. So they're not going to play that badly again. So
no, I don't think that pitching is going to allow that many base runners.
Very well in this series. They're going to have a game where they play very, very well this series. They're going to play tight and they're going to win. So that's at minimum. It's going to be like a shared series. But I just think that I think the Yankees will lose 3 out of 4. But the Yankees will be very delighted with that one win, and they'll parade it around like they've won a championship because that's the way that they are right now.
Yeah, they'll win the 4th game and be like, "Oh, we righted the ship."
Championship's on.
And then I'm going to come on here on Monday and say, "Here's another catapult game." We're already got a track to keep jumping over all these hurdles.
Right.
With the
one thing for sure, I think there needs to be a Yankee fight tomorrow after the game.
When?
After the game tomorrow.
That's it. Oh, there's a little tease.
Yeah.
Yep. But that is going to wrap things up for us. We do hope that everybody enjoys their weekend, either because of or despite of the Yankees games that will be being played. It's the weekend. Enjoy yourselves. But that is going to wrap things up for us. But as always, if you want, hit that like button. If you want to join the chat and just support the channel, just hit that sub button. Share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. We want to appreciate everybody that hung out with us this week. Donald, Tats. This is the Pinstripe Chronicles. And just remember to wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.